Let's talk about Maxime Reynaud, the 7'1", 250-pound center from Paris, France. Spent all 4 years with Stanford. Got better each and every year. And this season was a first team player on the All ACC team. He averaged 20 points a game, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal, and just under 1.5 blocks. And did so on 47% from the field, 35% from three, and 77% from the free throw line, and about 2.5 turnovers per game. He's clearly, as you can kind of see from the stats, a skilled big man who could score from all three levels. He's probably at his most efficient and most comfortable scoring from inside, specifically from the post, but he can knock down a mid range jumper and he could knock down the three as well. He shot that percentage on just about 5 attempts from three on average. And Reynaud, he's a very intriguing guy because on one hand, you have a player who is extremely skilled, can score from all three levels, was the offense at times for Stanford. You know, they had two other players who averaged double figures, and Isaiah Sellers and Jalen Blakes, but Reynaud was far and away the number one option. And so when he struggled, the team really struggled. And he's a tremendous offensive player who's really skilled. But there are areas of concern even with his offense. Now, what do I mean by that? Because you're looking at a guy who scored 20 points a game, who's pretty efficient for the most part on a Stanford team that had some weaknesses offensively. A lot of his more efficient offense came from inside the arc. And I wonder, number one, I don't think he'll get those post up opportunities at the next level, especially early on in his career. And number two, his ability to score from that mid post area, mid range area, I think was good, but not like at a super high level. Like it was more like above average level. So again, I don't think he'll get those same opportunities in the NBA. And I think the opportunity he will get will be from the 3 point line, which was average, I would say, but not great. And so there's a little bit of concern with what he does well, which is scoring the ball. Now, defensively is where the real concerns come in for me. He's not a guy who can really play in. He can't play coverage at the level. He's not necessarily like quick enough to guard laterally against smaller players. He's not great at like hedging. They didn't really have him do that very much at Stanford, in fairness. And then lastly, what they did have him do most of the time was play in drop coverage. And he's just not. I know he averaged 1.4 blocks per game, which isn't a bad number by any means, but he's just not an out and out rim protector. And that's important because it's going to make it difficult for his team to put him on the court unless his 3 point shooting really becomes legitimate, which I think is his best pathway to rotation minutes at the NBA level. I see him going somewhere in the mid to late second round in this year's draft. There is a chance he goes undrafted with the defensive concerns. I think, strangely enough, how he shoots the three, in those combine drills, even in the combine, if he participates, is going to be really important for Reynaud's draft status, as well as, how he shoots in those private workouts, because I think that's going to be his best skill at the NBA level in the beginning, where if you're not a high level, maybe not high level, but if you're not a first round pick, and certainly a top end first round pick, you just don't get the opportunity to showcase your full game. You've got to find your role. And I think that's the best role that Reynaud can carve out as a 3 point shooting big early on in his career. And that could enable him to get more opportunities later on, in the post, in mid range, where he's a little bit more comfortable. But I think his defense could prevent him from getting those opportunities. So I think defensively, he's going to have to improve. More likely, guarding out, at the level hedging, because I just don't think his rim protection is going to ever be good enough to be able to be, a drop coverage defender. There's just very few guys who guard the paint well enough to be able to do that. So comp, it was kind of hard for me to find a comp, but if I'm gonna go with anybody, I see him as like similar to Luka Garza, probably a little bit more athletic, but not as physical as Garza. And so I'm curious how his NBA career turns out. Please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, it really means a lot, and drop your comments. What do you think about Maxime Reynaud? Who else are you curious about in this year's draft class? See you guys next time.